Hi everyone, this is Robert Williams and this is my week 6 multimedia discussion board. This week I'll be discussing my position with the United States Postal Service. My boss came to me today and said we need to run our government agency more like a private sector. So I'll be comparing the US Postal Service to UPS. So when my manager brought this to my attention, I decided to identify the similarities and differences between the Postal Service and UPS. In discussion with a coworker of mine, she identified that Allison's private and public management is like the meat and potatoes of the discussion. There are numerous similarities and differences between the two. Both organizations have a hierarchy that identifies the managers who operate both of the organizations. These managers typically identify the different strategies that they'll take, and they manage the internal and external issues of both of those organizations. Allison also discusses Luther Gulick's POSCorp. POSCorp is a mixture of the planning, organizing, staffing, and budgeting, which is pretty typical in both of these organizations in order for them to be successful. There's also a division of labor. So both of these organizations have delivery drivers, as you can see in my presentation. And then there are also folks behind the scene. They're the ones who get the packages ready for the drivers and making sure everything is ready to go day to day. Max Weber also agreed with the division of labor and identified a established hierarchy. And so in both organizations, there would be a management level and the field operators, the individuals who are behind the scenes. And so both organizations have that in time. Allison also identifies the very distinctive differences between the two sectors, including the time perspective and the duration of a policy. The Postal Service has to react quickly, while UPS has a little bit more time to make their decisions. Also, the director of the Postal Service can be switched out frequently depending on the political demands. However, the UPS general manager or CEO usually stays around a lot longer than the UPS or the Postal Service would. And this is usually due to either the political will or stakeholders involved. There's also equity concerns that are involved. The Postal Service, they have to deliver mail to all locations. It doesn't matter if it's rich or poor. Where the UPS is based off of a fee. So if you pay for the service, you receive delivery. And so that's a lot different than what you would do with the Postal Service. This leads me to Paul Appleby's theory that government is different. Appleby really identified that government is different in a lot of ways compared to the public sector. We have to, as public servants, deal with what the concerns are with our users, where UPS would be able to make adjustments based off of their stakeholders. So they're about profits, where the government, where the Postal Service is more about the people. So the Postal Service is really more service oriented, and the UPS is more self-motivated by profits. So this also leads me to Riddle and Weber's wicked problems. Because the Postal Service is a government entity, we deal with a lot more wicked problems, which are problems that lack clarity or solution. So a common issue with the Postal Service is not making a profit. The organization is constantly being bailed out by the government in order to continue. Where UPS is about stakeholders and making money, and so they don't necessarily have the most easiest solutions. However, their problems are easily made, and so they can find ways to manipulate the system and make it a lot more profitable for their stakeholders. Additionally, under the Pendleton Act, government employees aren't able to hire their buddies, hire their family. That's prevented under the Act. However, in the private sector, such as UPS, they would be able to hire a family member, a friend, anybody that they see fit, and they may not be the most qualified or experienced individual. Another important item to note is Wilson's dichotomy. In order for us to change the rules of the system and government, it's important that the policymakers are on board. They need to be the ones to actually make the policy changes. We can't just at the management level change what we decide is needed. It has to be done by the policymakers. Which leads me to Kingdom's three streams approach. Identifying that a problem, a policy, and the political will is important. We need to be able to merge those. So in a situation that, say, changing the fees, the Postal Service wouldn't be able to just simply change the cost of postage without the political will, where UPS would be able to quickly change their prices for shipping if their stakeholders see fit or if they start losing profits. These are the various references that I used for this discussion board. I believe I gave my manager enough information on both sides of the discussion, and I believe this will help him make an informative decision on how to move forward. That's the end of my presentation. Thank you and have a good weekend.